I want to tell you the exact moment my whole life cracked in half, and I want you to really hear it. It was a Wednesday, 10:40 in the morning, and I'd been at that company 24 years, running the billing office for a medical supply outfit outside Cleveland, Ohio. They called me into a conference room I'd sat in 1,000 times, and there was a kid from corporate, couldn't have been 35, and a folder on the table with my name spelled wrong, Kathleen with a C. 24 years and they couldn't spell it. And he said all the words they teach them: restructuring, streamlining, we appreciate your years of service. And I sat there nodding like a fool, saying thank you, actually thanking the man who was firing me. And I walked out to my car and just sat there, 62 years old, no job. And here's the part that still drops my stomach when I say it out loud. I had $680 in my checking account and nothing behind it. 62, with nothing saved. That was me 2 years ago. And I'm telling you now, from a porch 1,000 feet up a green mountain on an island in the Philippines, that today I live on $1,650 a month, and it is the happiest I have been in my whole adult life. So let me back up, because you need to hear how a woman ends up with nothing at 62. And you need to hear it wasn't because she was stupid or lazy, because that's the lie I told myself for a long time. My name's Kathleen. I grew up outside Cleveland, the kind of place where the plants left and the town just held its breath for 30 years. My mother cleaned houses for the families up on the hill and came home with her hands cracked and red. I started at that company at 38 and worked my way up from the phones to running the whole billing office. And I was good at it, and I want you to understand that, because I think a lot of us measure ourselves by whether we were good at the thing we did. But being good at something and being protected are two completely different things. So, where did the money go? Some of it I'll own. I wasn't a saver. My generation figured the job and the Social Security would carry us. But the big one was the divorce at 54. 19 years. And when it came apart, it took the house, or my half of it, and the little retirement I'd built, split right down the middle, and the lawyers took a chunk of what was left. And right around then, my daughter was drowning in student debt, and what kind of mother watches her kid go under and sits on her hands? So I helped. I don't regret that for 1 second. But you added up the divorce, the lawyers, the helping, a couple years where I wasn't paying attention because I was too sad to look, and you get a woman who turned 60 with a paid-off car and almost nothing else. And I figured, well, I've still got the job. And then a kid with a misspelled folder told me the job was gone. I'm not going to pretend the months after were anything but ugly. I applied for everything: billing, reception. I applied to run a register. And I found out what a lot of women my age find out, which is that nobody is rushing to hire a 62-year-old. They don't say it, they're too smart to say it, they just don't call back. One interviewer said they wanted somebody who could grow with the company long-term, to a 62-year-old. I sat down one night with a legal pad, because I'm an old billing woman and I do everything on paper, and I added up what it cost just to exist. Rent $1,100, the marketplace health insurance almost $400 for a plan that covered nothing until I'd spent money I didn't have, the car, the phone, the electric. And the number going out was bigger than the number coming in, every single month, and there was no version of the math that worked. That's a specific kind of fear, when the arithmetic of your own life doesn't add up and you're 62 and you don't have 30 years to fix it. So here's where it turns, and it's almost embarrassing how small it was. I couldn't sleep, 3 in the morning most nights, and to make my brain quit, I'd watch videos on my phone. And one night the little machine served me up some woman about my age on a porch with mango trees behind her, saying she lived on her Social Security check in the Philippines and had money left over at the end of the month. Money left over. I almost laughed. But I watched another and another ordinary people, retired teachers and nurses and clerks, women who looked like the women I used to work with, all saying the same thing, that the math stopped working back home and then they went somewhere their dollar stretched, and they could finally breathe. And I was a skeptic, so I did what I do. I got the legal pad and flipped to a clean page and started writing real numbers. And they were almost insulting, they were so good. A whole house in a cool mountain town called Valencia, above a city they call the City of Gentle People, $400. A meal of fresh fish and rice, a couple of dollars. A helper 4 mornings a week for less than my old cable bill. For the first time in 2 years, I had a page of numbers that added up to a life instead of a slow drowning. And I learned the practical parts too, because I made myself. The Philippines has a proper retirement visa, the SRRV, and once you're 50 with a pension over $800 a month, you park a refundable deposit in an accredited bank and pay a small yearly fee, and you can stay indefinitely. And a foreigner can't own the land. You can own the house, but never the dirt under it, so most of us rent. I wrote all of that down honest, and I want to talk about the Social Security part because it matters. I filed at 62, as soon as I could, and every financial man alive tells you don't wait. You're leaving money on the table, because claiming early cuts your check by about 30% for the rest of your life. And they're right. If you've got money to live on while you wait, I didn't. I had $680, so I took it reduced, permanently, and between my check and the small pension that survived the divorce, I came out to $1,650 a month. In Cleveland, that's rent and nothing. It's not a life, it's survival, with the heat turned low. But here's the thing nobody tells you, and it's the real reason most people who watch those videos never go. It wasn't the money that stopped me. It was the fear, and worse, the guilt. I had a daughter, a grandson, my whole life in one zip code, and there's this voice, and I think you know this voice, that says a good mother stays, a good grandmother is around the corner, not 8,000 miles away. Who do you think you are? Sit down. What changed my mind was my daughter, Erin. I told her over coffee, sideways, like a joke, "Your old mom's been looking at the Philippines," and I braced for the worried look. Instead, she put her cup down and said, "Mom, when's the last time you sounded excited about anything?" And I didn't have an answer. And then she said the thing that broke me. She said, "I'd rather have a happy mom on a video call than a miserable one down the street. So I got a passport at 62, never owned one, stood in line at the post office like a teenager, and when the woman asked where I was traveling, I couldn't say it out loud. I just said overseas, because saying the Philippines made it real. And let me tell you the moment I knew, the little airport, the heat, the tricycles buzzing everywhere like a swarm, and I'm jet-lagged and overwhelmed thinking, what have you done, Kathleen? And we stop at a red light, and a little girl on the back of her father's motorbike, maybe 6, in her school uniform, looks over at this big, confused, gray American woman and just waves, this enormous grin, like she's known me her whole life. And her father laughs and waves too, at a stranger, at a red light, and something in my chest that had been clenched since the divorce came loose. Now let me give you the honest life I built. I rent a little 3-bedroom concrete house up in the hills, tile floors, big windows, a porch that runs the whole front, a mango tree in the yard, and from here, I can see the ocean going silver all the way out to the next island. $400 a month. My electric's a bit more when I run the fans, water's almost nothing, and there's a woman named Maribel who comes 4 mornings a week, and I have to talk about her right, because the whole idea of having a helper sat strange on the daughter of a cleaning lady. Maribel's 42, lives down the road with her husband and 3 kids. The first morning I followed her around trying to help, grabbed the other end of the sheet, and she stopped and said, "Ma'am Kathleen, this is my job, you are making it harder." And it hit me like a truck, because I watched my mother do that exact work for 30 years and come home with her hands cracked and red. So I made myself sit down, one of the hardest things I've done here. I pay her well above the going rate, and a bonus at Christmas, And when her youngest needed an operation on his ear, I covered it, and it cost me about one old cable bill. And that money is putting her oldest through nursing school. My whole month, everything in, lands around $1,000. My check is $1,650. So for the first time since I was a young woman, I have money left over at the end of the month, and I cannot describe what that does to a person's nervous system after 2 years of watching the number go red. Now the hard parts, straight. The heat in April sits on you like a wet blanket. The rainy season floods the roads. The power goes out. The paperwork tests your soul. And there are typhoons. My second year a big one came through, and I sat in the dark listening to the mango tree groan, thinking, "What have you done, you old fool?" Healthcare surprised me the good way. I had a hernia fixed at a good private hospital, and the surgeon sat with me 45 minutes, and the whole thing came to under $1,000. But for anything truly major, a lot of folks fly to Cebu or Manila, and you'd be a fool to ignore that at my age. And there's a loneliness that comes in waves, nights on this beautiful porch, as alone as I've ever been, because the view doesn't fix everything you brought with you, it just gets to sit somewhere prettier. And here's what I didn't expect, the thing that actually saved me. I came to solve a money problem. That's all I thought this was, and instead I got a village. Back home, in the 2 years after the layoff, I could go an entire weekend without a single human being saying my name out loud. Here, when I had a fever last year, 3 different families on this road sent somebody to check on me. And I talk to Aaron more now than I did when I lived 20 minutes away, because now we actually make the time, every Sunday, and my grandson knows my face and calls me Lola on the screen, which is what the children here call their grandmother. People ask if I have regrets, and I've got exactly one. It's not that I came, it's that I was ashamed for so long, because I sat in that apartment thinking I was the only 62-year-old woman in America who'd blown it this badly, and I want to tell you, you didn't blow it. The math just stopped working back home for a whole lot of regular people, and there's no shame, none, in taking your hard-earned check somewhere it can actually buy you a life. So if you're out there tonight doing the bad math at 3 in the morning, I'm just one woman on a porch, but I'll tell you what nobody told me. You're actually allowed to go. It's going gold over the valley now, the mist coming back up the hills. In a little while Maribel's husband is going to putter by on his tricycle and honk hello, and I'm going to sit here a while longer, in the life I almost talked myself out of. The billing clerk from Cleveland, laid off at 62 with $680, up on the hill looking down at everything. I didn't get rescued. Nobody rescued me. I just did the math, faced the fear, and got on the plane. And I promise you, whoever you are, you're allowed to go too.